Well, hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Woody Hayes Athletics Center on Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated. I'm Brendan Gulick, and this is the Buckeye Report for Tuesday, September 28th, 2021. It's Rutgers week, and we had a very lengthy media session today with four different Buckeye coaches and players, Ryan Day and defensive coordinator Matt Barnes, who I guess still has the title secondary coach, but he's the play caller. They both talked with the media, and then after that, we heard from Luke Whippler, who's done a really, really nice job as an offensive lineman these first four games, kind of pressed into duty with Harry Miller not being available. And then we heard from Haskell Garrett, who's coming off of his best individual performance of 2021 for sure, and arguably of his entire career. There's a couple quick hitters from takeaways from this press conference and some things going into the week. First and foremost, for those wondering if there is any kind of quarterback controversy, Ryan Day shot that down immediately. He said if CJ Stroud is healthy, then CJ is the guy. If he's available this weekend, he's going to be the starting quarterback on Saturday afternoon at Rutgers. He was also asked if he was at all open to the possibility that Kyle McCord could have played so well last weekend against Akron that he might have taken the job and run forward with it. And in basically no uncertain terms, Ryan Day said no. He thinks that Kyle and Jack Miller both played well. He said they basically played the way they've been practicing, and now it's kind of just a point of reference for them. But that CJ Stroud won the quarterback battle, and if he's healthy, he's the guy moving forward. So that's what Ryan Day cleared up very early on in the press conference this afternoon about Buckeye quarterback play. Beyond that, I asked him which unit he thought has made the most improvement from where they were at the start of the season to where they are now 4 games through. Basically, a third of the season is done. He said, I got to think about it for a second, but probably the defensive backs, the offensive line, and the running back room, mostly because of what Travion Henderson has done. And I think it's easy to see why he would say that. The defensive backs have made noticeable improvements here in the last couple weeks from where they were the first 2 games. Could that, be somewhat the opposition? Yes. Could it be somewhat play calls, rotating personnel? I think a lot of that stuff goes into it. Obviously, coaching and scheme is a component there as well. But a back end of the defense group that has taken some good strides forward has definitely been noticeable, especially this past week against Akron. Offensive line with basically 5 new guys in 5 different positions. Paris Johnson, first-time starter. Dwan Jones, first-time starter. Luke Whippler, first-time starter. You move Thayer Munford from tackle inside, and you move Nick Petit-Frere from one side of the line to the other. There's going to be, a few things you got to work through along the way, and largely the offensive line has been very, very good so far. Obviously, Matthew Jones has shown an ability and a willingness to play and be a good part of this offense too, and he's been very effective the last couple games when Thayer's been dealing with an injury. And the running back room, look, we've seen some explosive play. Mayan Williams was the shining star week 1 against Minnesota. Week 2, the Buckeyes ran the ball okay, but largely it was an aerial attack. And then the last 2 weeks, obviously, what Travion has done against Tulsa and Akron really stands out. Certainly against Tulsa, breaking the freshman rushing record. Pretty impressive stuff there. So those are the 3 units that Coach Day says he's seen the most improvement from so far in the year. We also heard from Matt Barnes, and I asked him about essentially, whether or not he feels the gravity of this situation as an evaluation period of him and how he stayed ready to, have his, you hear about players having their number called because you never know when it's going to be your chance. Matt Barnes wasn't planning at the beginning of the season to be the play caller for this defense, and all of a sudden is thrust into that situation. And he's done fairly well so far through these first couple of games. Looking forward to seeing how this defense, will play against a Power 5 team in Rutgers. But he essentially pointed to the success of the team as a whole. He talked about the staff as a whole. He basically said, I am an open-minded guy, and if someone brings a suggestion, yeah, let's try that. Let's see if that'll work. The collective unit of Al Washington and Kerry Combs and Larry Johnson all developing a game plan together, and then Matt essentially executing it and calling the plays. But he's had a period in the past where he was at Maryland where a similar situation arose, and he's just feeling like he's leaning on everybody else around him to groupthink, if you will. I think it's worked out fairly well so far through his first 2 games doing that. Haskell Garrett talked to us. I asked him about the joy that he's been playing with this year, considering all that he's gone through over the last really 18 months. It's been a tough journey for him. Look, nobody has ever really questioned his ability as a player on the field. But Ryan Day said he has so enjoyed watching Haskell grow as a man. He said he's going to be an unbelievable father and uncle. Haskell talked about how much he's enjoying the teaching component of what he's doing right now, where he learned from Chase Young and the Bosa brothers and Draymond Jones and Robert Landers. And now he feels like he's accumulated all that knowledge and he's ready and willing and able to work with some young defensive linemen who are certainly talented, but guys that, need a little bit of that coaching along the way. And he's relishing the opportunity to be the guide, to give them that guidance. Beyond that, Ryan Day says the team is getting healthier. Didn't want to go into any real specifics on some of the injuries and those things. But, Ohio State's had a few more players lately than they probably wish they had on the game day status report for guys that are unavailable. And, the good thing is they're getting in a better direction here. Harry Miller is going to be able to join the team this week again. He's been dealing with some health issues the last couple of weeks, but Ryan Day said he's coming back. The belief is still that Thayer Munford is not far away from returning. Obviously, he went down a couple of weeks ago, but they don't think that's a long-term injury. And hopefully the rest of the defensive linemen that were unavailable last weekend will also be able to rejoin the team soon. But Ryan Day said, look, that's a medical staff decision, but he feels optimistic about those guys getting back into the fold here pretty soon. Beyond that, he talked about the running back room not being set particularly in stone. I think it's hard right now to not start TreVeyon Henderson with the way that he's been playing. And he certainly didn't say that he wouldn't start TreVeyon, but he didn't exactly, straight out, give one guy or 2 guys a definitive, hey, these are our top 1 or 2 running backs. He even talked about Evan Pryor. Pryor got into the end zone last week, and maybe for the first time, fans got a chance to see a little bit what Evan's all about. He said Evan Pryor's doing a really good job of not trying to compare himself to his teammates or to some lofty expectations. He was obviously highly recruited as well, but with TreVeyon excelling the way that he's done, perhaps it's been a little bit lost in the shuffle that Evan also has a ton of talent. Obviously, we've seen Mayan Williams and Master Teague do their thing as well. So I think Ryan Day's trying to keep an open mind about how to use that running back room. But it's also impossible to ignore the high level of success that we've already seen from TreVeyon Henderson. And the one other thing that really stood out to me, he was asked about Emeka Egbuka, who, essentially caught a short pass in the second half last week and exploded for an 85-yard gain and almost made it into the end zone. And it was the first time that we've really had a chance to see Emeka, shine in the spotlight. He's obviously been in there on some special teams opportunities, but that was easily the biggest highlight of his career so far. And Ryan Day emphatically backed this kid and said, look, for someone that was as highly recruited as Emeka was, he has never said a word about not having as much playing time as he might like. He just goes to work. He's been unbelievably coachable. He said Emeka's future is extremely bright, and he is really excited about what he's brought to this room so far. I think it's a fairly safe assumption that Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are probably going to go to the NFL next year, which should open up an opportunity for Emeka and the other young wide receivers to really get a chance to play in that room. But some pretty emphatic support from Ryan Day for Emeka Egbuka. I believe it was the last question asked of him in the press conference, if you're interested in seeing his exact comments. So that's your Buckeye Report here for Tuesday of Rutgers week. We've got lots of content coming all week long on BuckeyesNow.com. Buckeye Breakdown Podcast will also be available daily. We've got a great episode of Building the Buckeyes for you here this afternoon, looking into some of the top recruited players that Ohio State is really chasing after. Andrew Lind and John Garcia from Sports Illustrated's SI All-American unit gave a really, really good in-depth look at what's going on with Ohio State recruiting right now. So be sure to check that out. We've also got some good content coming up here later in the week, previewing Rutgers and getting ready for what will be the re-entry into Big Ten play for the Buckeyes. I'm Brendan Gulick for Buckeyes Now at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Hope you enjoyed the Buckeye Report. We'll see you real soon. Back BuckeyesNow.com.